On a cold morning in late May 2024, tracking stations around the globe quietly took note of an event that most people would never hear about. In the darkness above Earth's atmosphere, a Russian military satellite, designated Kosmos 2576, conducted a maneuver, and then, without warning, released a small, unidentified object into orbit. No official statement was made, no details were given. All that remained was a line of computer code in NORAD's tracking database, alerting the world's space watchers. Something unusual was happening in the shadowy domain of Russian military space operations. This wasn't the first time Russian satellites have surprised analysts. Over the last decade, Russia has launched a series of mysterious satellites, often under the so-called Kosmos designation, each with vague purposes and shadowy missions. But what happened with Kosmos 2576 revived particular interest because tracking data showed it was shadowing a US government satellite, one known to be part of America's vital missile warning system. Here's what we know. When Kosmos 2576 entered orbit, its trajectory was carefully set to match that of USA 314, an American military satellite used to detect intercontinental ballistic missile launches. That meant the Russian satellite was perfectly positioned to observe and potentially even interfere with this American asset. Then, on May 16th, the satellite released a smaller object, a maneuver that, while subtle, was immediately noticed by commercial and government tracking sites. The mere release of an unidentified object is not by itself unprecedented. The mere release of an unidentified object is not, by itself, unprecedented. But when a Russian satellite operating in the same orbit as a sensitive American spacecraft drops off a companion, it raises urgent questions in international security circles. But when a Russian satellite operating in the same orbit as a sensitive American spacecraft drops off a companion, it raises urgent questions in international security circles. Is this a test of new technology, a disguised anti-satellite weapon, or yet another move in the ongoing chess game played out high above our heads? Is this a test of new technology, a disguised anti-satellite weapon, or yet another move in the ongoing chess game played out high above our heads? To understand why this matters, we need to step back. The space domain, once dominated by the grand gestures of superpowers planting flags on the moon, to understand why this matters, we need to step back. The space domain, once dominated by the grand gestures of superpowers planting flags on the moon, is now an invisible but crucial part of national security. Satellites maintain communications, power GPS navigation, enable scientific research, and crucially, monitor for missile launches and movements. Satellites maintain communications, power GPS navigation, enable scientific research, and crucially, monitor for missile launches and movements, is now an invisible but crucial part of national security. In this realm, ambiguity is often the norm. Sometimes, it's even the point. In this realm, ambiguity is often the norm. Sometimes, it's even the point. Russia's military space program is notoriously secretive. The official explanations for many of the Kosmos satellites are vague at best, and little is shared with the global community. Analysts recall the incidents of 2017 and 2020, when other Russian satellites released similar inspector or payload objects. Russian officials claimed these satellites were carrying out peaceful inspections and technical tests. However, Western defense experts suggested something more concerning. These could be precursors to space weapons, or at the very least, demonstrations of capability meant to send a message. The technology required to closely approach, observe, or interfere with other satellites is significant. Known as rendezvous and proximity operations, or RPO, these maneuvers can be used to repair or inspect friendly satellites. But they can also allow a nation to test, jam, or even destroy the satellites of a potential adversary. In 2022, Russia tested a ground-launched missile against one of its own, now defunct satellites, creating a cloud of space debris and drawing widespread condemnation. The release of an unknown object in a similar orbit as a US satellite is, according to many analysts, an unmistakable signal that Russia wants the world to know it's capable of more. For the United States and its allies, this is not simply a matter of technological showmanship. Satellites like USA 314 are the eyes and ears of the US military, watching the world's horizons for the telltale signs of a missile launch. If those satellites are threatened, blinded, or destroyed, it could throw military communications, navigation, and warning systems into chaos. In a future crisis, the stakes could be existential. As for the object released by Kosmos 2576, its purpose remains a mystery. Ground-based radars continue to track its orbit, measuring every shift and drift, trying to determine its intent. One thing is clear: activities like these push the world closer to a future where space is not only a domain of cooperation, but of rivalry and risk. Some suggest it could simply be a calibration target or a benign test payload. Others worry that its true nature will only be revealed in a moment of international crisis. Without new rules and mutual trust, the chances of misunderstandings or even conflict grow ever higher. As eyes around the world remain fixed on the silent ballet above Earth, the release of this mystery object by a Russian military satellite stands as a stark reminder. In the high frontier of space, secrets are common currency, and the boundaries between science, surveillance, and sabotage grow ever harder to define.